So here we are with a brand new company, and we're going to show you how to do the first method, which is the stock take adjustment method. So let's assume that we go down and we buy some materials, and we're going to raise a new purchase, and that's going to be from our favorite supplier. Okay, and we're going to essentially purchase these materials. We're going to backdate this a little bit. Let's say that we purchased them here in May. It's cash on delivery. And let's say that we purchase in some materials. Okay. Now, we're not tracking inventory here, so we're putting in the total amounts that we purchase. Let's assume 5,000 Rand, and we spend another 3,500 Rand on some buttons. And we put these straight to a cost of goods sold account. So we've bought a high quantity here. The buttons we've ended up purchasing close to 500, and the fabric we've bought 100 square meters. But that's fine. We put it straight to the expense account, we approve that, and that creates a bill in the system. Now we'll pay that bill off and we'll send them an EFT, but for our purposes, what's important here is to understand what's happened to the profit and loss. And if we have a look at our profit and loss, what we'll see is that so far in May, we've had a very big expense of 8,500. That's fine. We'll come back to that a little bit later. Now, let's go make a sale. So we have a customer, and we are going to essentially sell them some finished goods. So we're going to sell them that at the end of May, just before the month end, and they've got 7 days to pay us, and that's our first invoice. It's very exciting. So what we're going to do is we're going to sell them some t-shirts, and that's great. The quantity of the t-shirts was 50, that's fine, and the price that we're going to put in there for each of those t-shirts was 350 Rand. That's great. So that goes straight to our sales account, and we approve that. So great, those are your two main transactions in Xero. We bought something in and we've sold something. But now what we're going to do is we want to understand what that looks like on the profit and loss report. So if we go to that profit and loss report, what we see is that, great, 17,500 Rand in sales and 8,500 Rand in cost of goods sold. It looks like a very good margin. The reality is we actually have leftover materials. We have half of what we purchased left over. So in our cost of goods sold, what we're saying is that not all of this was expensed in this month because we haven't made and sold all of these materials. So when we do a stock count, what we determine is that of these materials, of this 8,500 Rand, we still have 4,000 Rands worth of materials left. Now, where we should see inventory is on the balance sheet, but of course with the simple method, everything's been expensed at one time. So we have no inventory that is essentially sitting on our balance sheet at all. So if we want to essentially reverse that out, what we need to do is we need to check what accounts we've got, and we need to make sure that we've got an inventory account. Now, if we have a look here, let's search for that. So we've got one inventory account. That's more for Xero's built-in use. What I'm going to say is I'm going to say here, I'm going to put it down as a current asset. I'm going to pick the next number up, so 631, and I'm going to call this raw materials inventory. That's great. Put that in. And now what I want to do is I want to essentially move some of those costs which I've got on my profit and loss over to the inventory. So I'm going to put in this journal here, and what I'm going to say is my May stock count, and that will be at the 31st of May. What we're saying here is stock on hand. And we're going to increase our inventory on hand based on our stock count, and we said 4,000 is what we've got on hand. And that needs to come out of our cost of goods sold. We put everything there to start, and now we're going to pull out of that account. And I'm going to post that journal. And what essentially I've done is I've matched my inventory on hand in essentially the real world in my stock count onto my books. And that's great. So now I've got 4,000 Rand. That came from somewhere though, and that came from the cost of goods sold. So when I go back to my profit and loss now, what I see is that my cost of goods sold has gone down. That's a fair reflection. I bought in a lot of inventory, but I didn't use it all. And that's why some of it's now left on my balance sheet as inventory, and the correct amount is left on my profit and loss. And that gives me a more accurate margin, which is a pretty good one, on the t-shirts that I sold.